Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about an interesting topic, Gestalt principles. These principles have arisen out of perception, and we'll discuss what these principles are and why these principles are necessary for us to make a better visualization. Making better visualization is important. We can call this as Gestalt principles or laws. We can also say that these are the rules that make us understand certain things that is hidden inside. We might not be able to see all those things that is hidden there. Hence, this Gestalt principle helps us to know what sort of information might be available in the visualization. So don't complicate by thinking that unless we know these principles, we will not be able to see what others are able to see. Right? So, naturally, there is a complication. Until you are able to have a better sensory impressions, better sense, being wise, you will not be able to see what others are able to see. These principles list a few concepts or principles that are very basic to see and understand from a visualization. Right? So we'll just know what this principle is. These are the rules regarding how a human brain perceives structures. Structures in the sense, in a visualization, there may be certain structures or relationship among the displays. We should be able to know what lies between them. That is very essential. I'll just change the pen color to blue. Right. So here it is given how you perceive structures and how you understand or recognize. That is very important. How well you are able to recognize patterns and how you are able to break down complex images and see them as it should be seen. Like in stock market prices, you analyze stock market prices, or you can even analyze few groups of Bank Nifty shares alone. You must be able to pick based on something. You must be able to break down complex patterns or images and know what exists. That is where the wisdom, yes. How to grow wisdom is an art again, not a science. Remember, it's an art. You must be shocked to know. But in reality, art is the way in which you look. So, when you start your life to know what is right and what is wrong, you will gain the art of looking things in a different way. You'll be able to identify the hidden patterns easily. Right? That is an art. Right? We'll just look in here. The elements are crucial in data visualization because they help to facilitate understanding when we present our insights to the audience. Right? When we present our insights, when we present our views, the audience must be convinced. Right? Using Gestalt principle, the audience can more clearly understand. Right? When you use these basic Gestalt principles are very basic principles. So they will be able to easily understand these patterns or these structures. Right. We'll just fresh up what perception is before going into this Gestalt principles. Perception is the way how you understand certain things. Perception naturally includes an input, process, and an output. The input is through our five senses. Five senses are what you eye, nose, ears, touch, skin, tongue, and then find common sense. The sixth sense is common. 1, eye, 2, nose, 3, ear, 4, the skin, 5, the tongue, that senses, and the sixth is the common sense, where you require the working of all the sense in a better way. Right. We'll look in perception with the help of this small diagram. The step ahead. In your process, the process is here. We are going to discuss about this process now. Right, we'll look the process in 3 points. The process depends upon the situation. How you see it, the target, how you see it, and it depends upon the perceiver. Right, we'll start with an example about the perceiver. It depends upon the experience or expectation of a perceiver. Right, when you show something, there may be lots of things in a diagram. It depends upon the experience or motivation or attitude of a perceiver to understand one part of an image based on his experience or interest or attitude. Right? Number 2 is target. How they look at it. When we have a black and square or a white squares, some are able to quickly look at the black square than white square. So it is about target. A famous story in Purana stories, wherein the Guru asked his students before they use their bow and arrow, what they see, what is their target. One says he is able to see the tree. The other says he is to be able to see a bird. And one says he is able to see the eye of the bird. The eye of a bird. Of course, you might wonder, bird may also be a target. Tree may also be a target. But why the eye of a bird is respected as a better target? Right? So, a wise man knew when a bird is hurt, still it can fly away. Still it can fly away. But when a bird's eye is hit, even when a single eye is hit, it will not be able to fly. It doesn't fly is a general wisdom that they know. Of course, they hunt for food. Hence, they want it not to fly, harm it and capture it. So, in target, let us look how they look. Some look at the size, some look at the shape, some look at the color first. It depends upon what their senses target. Sometimes, in case of sound, some is able to listen to the sound of the leaves of the trees. Some is able to listen to the sound of the birds. Some is able to listen to the sound of human. Right? How you target is important. Of course, when you take food has spice, food has even salt. Some is able to sense the salt more, some is able to sense the spice more. Right? It is about target. Then coming to situation, it depends upon work setting or social setting. Sometimes time, sometimes time. When you see early in the morning, you are able to see that in a different shape or size or differently than when you see the image at 12 noon. Right? So situation makes you clear about something. In a work setting too, you can understand different things in a different way. Right? So it depends upon what situation it is. You understand things differently. Right? So these are small outline before going into Gestalt principles about perception. Let me move to the next slide about the principles. We will move into the first principle. It is about proximity. Proximity, the meaning is given here. It is clear what proximity is. You can see it here. Things that are close together appear to be more related than things that are spaced far apart. Generally, in any diagram, when you plot certain data, if it is like as in this image, you think the data is not grouped. Every data is heterogeneous and not homogeneous. There is no homogeneous data. But in this case, you might see certain pattern. These data, 4 data form a group. You can study something out of these 4 people or 4 products or 4 service, and these 3 are different. And these 3 might be different. Right? In the next diagram, whereas you don't have similar data, you might have 3 data which is pulled in, named square, circle and a triangle. In this case, there are square, circle and triangle, and these have formed a group. Maybe they convey some meaning to us. And you see here a combination of 1 in each. That might convey a different meaning. And this, where a square and circle is there alone, might convey a different meaning too. Right? So based on this, Gestalt says that observe things. This can be a different combination. You can understand meaning from out of these. Right? So you might wonder, so visualization is really complicated, that common man may not understand the meaning. Yes, true. To a limit, you can understand the visualizations. You must be wise to know what this image means. Maybe they don't understand, but you can understand, is the wisdom. Education must make a man wise, not make a man by transforming knowledge. Recalling memory is simple. But being wise is something different. The next principle is similarity. When we perceive things that appear to be similar to each other in terms of color, shape, size, etc., you can come to some conclusion, right? For an example, in this, you see different color. You group based on colors, black and white. You find a pattern among black and a pattern among white. Black has some pattern like this, whereas white has some other pattern, right? The next is based on the size. Smaller size images have some pattern than bigger size image, which can be said as it has also a pattern like this, right? You must be able to understand there is some pattern there. You must be able to know it. In this shape, in this case shape, there are three shapes: square, circle and triangle. You must be able to study the pattern in each. For an example, you are studying a pattern of square here. Let us take the pattern of circle. I'm sorry, it moves to a next image. Z pattern. Similarly, you should be able to understand what it means then. What this pattern means is an art of understanding, right? So basically, for being wise, simply you should know what is wrong and what is right. Unless you know what is wrong and what is right in life from your kid, since when you are a kid. For an example, if you are going to learn a bicycle, there is certain things known as wrong and right. You cannot say everything as right in learning, right? There are certain things wrong which should not do to learn to drive a bicycle. Similarly, when you start to learn those things, what is right, what is wrong, what is right, what is wrong, you will be able to know hidden secrets of life, hidden patterns of an image, right? And the next is about orientation. See, here all the images are in oval shape. The shape is oval. The shape is oval. But you see, this is vertical. This is horizontal. This is slanting. You may call that as 90 degrees, 180 degrees or 45 degrees, whatever it is, 60 degrees, whatever it is. So based on the orientation, you should be able to understand what it means, right? So this is about similarity, and we'll move to this image where you have colors. You can identify from this. I just want to move to the next slide as we have taken enough time for this slide. Closure. We perceive open structures as closed. That happens. Complete and regular. We think it is complete and regular. Whenever there is a way to reasonably interpret them as such, sometimes we think this is a square, but there may also be a square here. Can also happen. You might ask, why not there be a circle, sir? Why not there be a rectangle, sir? Why not there be a triangle? It can be. So hidden patterns has to be studied. Here too, there's a break in the circle. First, understanding that there's a circle relationship itself is good. As in the earlier image, as I show, here understanding that there's a square pattern itself is good at the initial stage. Like this, a square pattern itself is good. Understanding that there's a circular pattern is good. And here, understanding there is a circle, and in the mid, as all the four circle is able to maintain or make a square is important. An additional information. This is a closure principle. Right? We'll move to the next. This is about enclosure. In certain cases, you are able to enclose under certain boundary. We perceive objects contained in an enclosure by anything that forms a visual border around them. Right? If you are able to make a visual border and understand certain meaning out of it, then you call as an enclosure principle. Here you make a square here, and when you understand something, it is a rectangle, and when you understand something, it is an enclosure principle. Right? Similarly here, you enclose this and you say a meaning about how sales was during this period. It is an enclosure. The next principle, number 5, is about enclosure. 5 is about continuity. Based on the continuity, you will be able to know certain things. And then secret is important. A small continuity here, I'll just say that you might see a human eye follows lines, curves, and a sequence of shapes in order to determine the relationship in the design or elements. For an example, in this case, you might think there's something when the objects have a cross relationship. You must think that there's something which is cross. You might also see this pattern. Right? Sometimes the other way. Here, you can also see the continuity here. The continuity doesn't exist because of something else. There's some reason for it. The continuity doesn't exist for some reason. Right? And similarly, there are other cases too in continuity. Here, this image shows a continuity, but we should be able to see this part, the common part that exists between these two circles. This place as highlighted here can give some meaning. So it is important to know the meaning of this common area. This each common area might give you a hidden secret. Remember, it might give you a hidden secret. Right? So you might look in patterns or images and understand different things out of it. We'll move to the next. 6 in continuity. 6 is connection in Gestalt principle. Here, when you connect certain data in the graph, you'll be able to say that the profit ratio is growing with respect to sales. The sales is in the x-axis and your profit is in the y-axis. So with this data, by connecting this data, remember, by connecting these data, you are be able to say that with sales, the profit ratio also grows. Maybe you say that when the sales grows from 1000 to 2000, the profit ratio is higher. Maybe the profit percentage is low when the volume of sales is low, but the volume of sales grows, the profit ratio also grows. That is a hidden information that you are able to find when you study data between profit ratio and sales. So similarly, you can also understand from this image. We'll move to the next. So you must be able to look into the connection what exists. Sometimes the image may be different. It may be a square and a circle, but there might exist a connection between them. So understanding the connection is important. I'll show you one diagram where the connection existed. I'll show you. Here remember, there are different image here. You can see there are different image that is grouped. It means there is a connection. It means there is a connection. Right? So here you can see, it means there is a connection between a circle and a square here. So we are able to know the connection between these two may be different. Here it is a connection between a small circle and a big circle. Here it is a connection between different colors. Right? We'll move to the next slide. The last principle is figure and ground. How you look at. There are lots of perceptual image. Some people may say by seeing this, there's a square, black square. On seeing this, they might say that there's a white square on something, there's white box on something. Right? So background makes you say something. Here, in both cases, here the background is white, here the background is white, here the background is black. Maybe you perceive here that there is a cube, something like that. Here you may perceive that, here you may perceive this as even a hole. You can perceive this even as a whole, right? It depends upon how you look at it. Some see the black color first, some see the white color first. There are lots of images like this. Some images may appear like a pillar, but it is actually like two persons facing. And when you make an object like this, you say that it is super, right? Generally, when you show this, it can also mean a bird. It can also mean a bird, right? It depends upon the target or a perceiver or the situation, right? So similarly is the image in this graph. You will have to understand the facts. Sometimes it means when it is small, it means less money. Sometimes when it is big, it means more money, more dollars. But that need not be the same, and it need not be the fact. For example, the country may be small here. This covers the whole country, right? The market share in that country might be big. They may be monopolistic, right? But this image might appear of the same size. These both image might appear same size. But here, taking in consider this America, the size of the market is small, right? So using your common sense is important in inference. You might not understand it unless you are wise enough. So the art of understanding the science that displays visualization is important. In any part of education or learning, your art stands as a base. Your artistic skill stands as a base, which is the source of wisdom, right? So visualization is a wonderful subject. So this is about a small detail about 7 principles given by Gestalt. Thank you for your patience and understanding the outcome of this visualization. Have a good day. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.